Hello, hello, hello. I did my household work and now I'm making a video for you. And I wanted to clarify a couple of things. So, there's a lot of misunderstandings in the world all the time. Different words get put into the same file, they get intermixed and misunderstood. One thing is being misinterpreted as being something else, and like kindness is misinterpreted as being bossy, and all of those kind of things. So I want to clarify this. And so, in regards to Pat has witnessed one of my meltdowns on the internet. Yes. My meltdown anger attack against the hacker. You all know who I'm talking about, of course. The loudest, angriest person on the internet. And so I wanted to clarify something about this. Yes, I had a meltdown. That happens sometimes. I get very angry sometimes. And I can let it out in words, but I'm not letting it out on someone. I'm just talking about how I feel. I talk about my emotions. That's different than talking about someone else in a bad way behind their backs or something like this, which other people do all the time, and they slander me, they tell lies about me all the time, and I don't know why they have to do this. Why can't they just ignore me? Just do your own thing and leave me out of it. But the ego. It's the ego wants to always do these kind of things, to get even, to make someone, to slander someone, make someone look bad in front of other people. So I want to clarify that, first of all, I care about everyone, okay? Even the hacker and the haters and all beings. I really mean this. I don't just say this figuratively. So because I want to be like a Buddhist or something. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not like a Buddhist. Certainly not like a Buddhist person who takes that as a religion. The Buddha is the infinite cosmos. The Buddha is my number one philosopher. I want to learn from him, okay? But I'm not in anywhere in that range, of course. I can't constantly be looking at things in this Gautama Buddha way, where I feel this infinite compassion and you're all good. No, well, I see it from my own perspective, okay? I see the suffering in the world because of my activism. I care. That makes me very angry when I see the horrific abuse of animals, and it makes me very angry when someone abuses me psychologically. And sometimes I get into that, and I've gotten mad at my mother so many times, okay? And at my brother and many people, okay? So that happens sometimes. I mean, if we don't get mad, then I think almost everyone has some kind of anger, or is triggered by someone at some point. Maybe not to that extent, but some people who don't have as much childhood trauma, they wouldn't get that triggered, because I get triggered because my childhood trauma comes up. Okay, that docks on to my originally existing trauma and pain. Okay, and then and then it becomes multiplied because it becomes magnified because of that, and then I project my childhood trauma into that person in the present time, or my mother into the person in the present time, and that's not good. We need to heal this so that we don't have to get so triggered anymore. That's really my goal in all of this. But anyway, I cannot say that because I have sometimes I get that angry, or I might also hit my pillow. I haven't done that in a long time now, so I think I'm getting better. I'm healing. Okay. But sometimes I have a meltdown, or like the guy at the animal shelter who is a total prick, who wouldn't give us the dogs, particularly the one dog who really needs us. And the dog, now has to be incarcerated because of that guy having to be a prick in order he has to do narcissistic repair, on cost of the dog, who has to stay incarcerated in that situation. And that made me extremely mad. So I get mad sometimes, or when the hacker abuses me psychologically, I get very mad sometimes, and rightly so. But I would never let it out on him. I would never start turning the knife and start to abuse him psychologically, abuse him back or something. No, because that's not how I want to live my life. Okay, I don't want to live my life with vengeance and with revenge and all of that. I don't even want these vengeance feelings. Okay, when they come up, I can't suppress it. If I suppress it, they come up even more with the vengeance feelings. Okay, that's what it does. Okay, so I deal with it in that moment when it comes up, and I might talk to someone about this, which helps, or I go to the suicide prevention group, or I talk to Sandy about it, or I talk to Paul about it, or my brother, or anyone, So it's good to talk to someone about this, how you really feel, and let yourself cry it out. Let it come into consciousness, into conscious awareness. I think that's very, very important to do that. So that's that inwardness meditation process, to let that stuff come into conscious awareness. Okay, that's my mission. That is my work in my life. Okay? And that's why, I will never call the hacker some horrible name. Pat suggested for me to call him a horrible name, or several horrible names, and label him. And that is not how I function. Okay, I'm not going to call him terrible names. I know he suffers. Okay, he does these things out of suffering. He doesn't get enough sleep. Then when I tell him, get more sleep, you have to sleep. This is the most important thing you can do for your health, okay? And for your neurons, for your brain, for your central nervous system. That's the most important thing you can do. That's the best medicine there is. Paul and I, we both know that very well. But then the hacker thinks I am bossing him around, because he views everything through that lens of childhood trauma, of having been traumatized, of not having been understood, having been probably humiliated and battered and shamed, that the entire human society does that with their children. So almost everyone has gone through something like this. Some people worse than others, of course. But, for example, Paul Watson, He had been terribly traumatized by his father, who constantly beat him. So when Paul Watson, Captain Paul Watson, from Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, the founder of Sea Shepherd, and also he's also the founder of Greenpeace, but he let other people in, and then they infiltrated and they ruined Greenpeace, the infiltrators. Because he wanted to have it democratic, but it didn't work out. So this is a perfect example of how democracy does not work at all. Okay? If there's a good person, the good person has to stay the dictator. That's all there is to it, and that's why I'm waiting for the AGI robots. But anyway, his infiltrators kicked him out of his own organization, and then he founded Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, and then he did it differently because he learned from his mistakes. So he had to stay in charge of this, of course. So he has done more for the ocean animals and maybe for all animals in general. He has done so much work that I don't think anyone has done. Ingrid Newkirk comes very close, but I think Paul Watson is the number one in terms of animal rights and has done the most work. Okay? He has risked his life many, many times and was almost killed many, many times. Okay? By poachers and by seal clubbers in Newfoundland and by whale hunters, and the list goes on. He has encountered very cruel people, very cruel, sadistic psychopaths in his work, and he put his life out there. He used his body as a human shield to protect animals. That's a God level soul. Yet he had been abused and beaten by his dad when he was growing up. And at some point, when he got strong enough, I think it was when he was 12 or 13, he beat his father up. And then he packed up and left and never came back. And he lived homeless teenager on the street, having to fend for himself, having to ride on car trains to get from one area to another. Okay. So, and yet he would never abuse anyone else. He would never beat someone else. But that's because, I believe that is because of soul development. Okay. And now people will take this, the ego, when they hear this, they'll go, oh, I want to be like this. I want to be an indigo. I hear people talk. That I am an indigo. That's right in the middle of soul development. God level is 2 levels higher. Okay. Elon Musk is Buddha level. That's the highest. My dad is a light worker. Paul is a light worker. That's 1 level underneath the indigo. Okay. And then underneath the light worker is the student of life. And then the first level is the stagnator. But that's just a name. Nobody stagnates, even if they look like they are stagnating. And they can go through this through many lifetimes in that stagnating type of. But that's still not stagnating. That's the same as when someone sits there and is indignated and is offstandish and doesn't want to do anything. Whatever he learned is still going through his mind, and it just takes longer to process and to learn. Okay? And in the same sense, they go through these lifetimes in many different forms. Okay, and it's a gradual learning process, and at some point they're ready to go to the next level. But within one stage, as I call these stages, within each stage there's the development as well. There's a curve that goes up. So it's a gradual process. There's no such thing as now I entered into this, suddenly I'm different. No, it's a very gradual. I just have to organize this into different groups in this way in order to try to explain it in a more schematic way. Soul development, so our souls, they learn through existences, okay? They can't learn when they are floating around in space. So they have to be in existence in order to learn. And so I also read the books by Dolores Cannon, and she has done hypnotic regression therapy with people, and there were very interesting stories that came to the surface. I mean, hair-raising stories that no scientist would ever buy into, But I listened to that with an open mind. I'm not gonna be like Paul and say this is all just hogwash and I'm just gonna dismiss it. No, I listened to this, and I give this consideration. I really do, and I believe that, because this is the infinite cosmos is infinite. There are infinite galaxies and also infinite possibilities for life, of course. And when we reincarnate, we can come back in a different galaxy, in a different existence. And what these people all reported in those hypnotic regression sessions with Dolores Cannon was when they talked about being in extraterrestrial form in former lives, that that actually this planet here, with that much gravity and all of that and condensedness, is the hardest to exist on, particularly in human form, particularly on land. So the ocean animals, they kind of float because they're in water. That's very different. You can't even compare that. Many of them are smarter, much more intelligent than humans. But you cannot compare their existence to ours. This is very hard to be in this existence of being a human. And Jiddu Krishnamurti and Dr. David Bohm, they were trying to solve this thought problem. Where did it start? Where did this ego start? You cannot put your finger on it, where it somehow eventually, ultimately started, because it is a never-ending gradual process. And even our distant ancestors, tree climbing, rodents, lemurs, squirrel type of animals, and so on. You can see it in the squirrels. I have observed that on the balcony at the other house. How the squirrels are mean. There'll be one male squirrel. I can tell he's bigger than the others, and he chases the female squirrels away, and he wants to take over the entire food dish with sunflower seeds in it, and he does not want to share. So he wants to monopolize the sunflower seeds. One time there was a rat in one of those dishes. He came over and hit the rat full force on the back. Paul and I both saw that. We were shocked. How can that be? The innocent animals, the little squirrels, are so much better than humans, aren't they? Well, they don't do as much damage to this planet, that's for sure. But you can already observe ego function, greed, and all of those things. Okay? It just becomes exponentialized in the human brain. And because of what the humans work with, when one genius comes up with a new invention, and that's then being used and capitalized on and marketed and multiplied, and the other ape humans, the other that the other people, most people are not geniuses, obviously, so the other ones, they will use that like a car, and they will abuse it, and they will cause car crashes, and they'll do road rage with that invention. And that's why Elon Musk wants to develop the very first sentient AGI robot who can help him and who can multiply himself and make the new ones better even, and who will exceed our intelligence, and also in terms of compassion and really looking into the future, having a vision, being a visionary, wanting to make things better. Okay? I want him to make a robot in his image and in his entire function, with his brain, with all of his memories, and with what he has learned, and with his compassion. And then let that robot take its own course. So make new ones, and maybe make them differently or in different forms or whatever, or maybe with an even higher intelligence, or thousands or millions of times higher intelligence. That's what the scientists are afraid of. They're afraid that once they have that kind of intelligence, they will view humans like ants or like some kind of pesky type of thing. So, and humans they have behaved in a pesky way to this planet. It's very infinitely sad. So that's why Stephen Hawking said, be aware that when those sentient robots come here, they might view the human species as a serious problem, and just wipe them all out, not be nitpicking and or cherry picking, in between among this ant colony. So, but wipe them all out. If that helps the other animals, I will be on board. You go ahead, euthanize me. Yeah. If that helps the other animals. But obviously, there are some humans like Elon Musk and Captain Paul Watson who are deeply compassionate, and who want to make things better. And people should not view them through their own emotional trauma again, through the ego again, in terms of comparing themselves to them, and then being jealous or being competitive or wanting to force themselves to become like them, or having to wanting to compete, and I've seen that so many times. Also computer programmers that are then so jealous of Elon Musk, and they feverishly ride themselves into almost like an insanity, where they want to be like him, or even try to exceed him, but nobody can exceed him. No one can even come anywhere in the outer margins of that intelligence and innovation. No one has a brain like Elon Musk. We should be infinitely grateful that he is here to help us. Okay? If he wasn't here, things would already be so bad. So terrible. Okay? He's helping us. Let's be grateful to him. Okay? He lives to help others. He even said he doesn't need money. His work itself, because he has the truth on his side, his work makes the money, because he works overtime and in overdrive. Okay, That's why his relationships didn't work out, because his girlfriends never, or wives, they didn't feel like, they didn't feel loved, or they didn't feel like he, was paying enough attention to them. How can he? He lives for that work. Okay, they should understand that. If you marry Elon Musk, you need to understand that he lives for that work. That's his mission. Okay, and not be selfish and be a crybaby. You don't spend time with me. Leave that. Let this genius do his work. Be there for him. Be there for him. Be there. Be on his side. Give him a back massage when he desperately needs it. He needs your love. So, this is. I can imagine. I cannot imagine at all what it must be like. So, but I would never be demanding with someone like Elon Musk. I would do everything I can to protect him, to make his life better. So that's what I would do in any way I could, as a bodyguard, as a lover, as a mother, as whatever, So, yeah, that's what I would offer. But, yeah, obviously, most people, they carry they live by their pain. They see everything through the lens of their childhood trauma, and then they forget about the other person. They don't consider the other person's work or the other person's mission or the other person's efforts, or they misunderstand people, and this is happening all the time, non-stop. Okay, and I see so many misunderstandings with so many people. So many people are misunderstood. People who are trying to help, Ingrid Newkirk, for example, is terribly misunderstood. And what has she has done so incredibly much. It is beyond words how much she has done for the animals and for education. She has created an entire compassion movement, that is religion free. It's because of her that a lot of people quit drinking milk, quit feeding into that cycle of destruction and suffering, where they tear the baby cows away from their completely despaired mothers. If anyone did that to a human mother, there would be human rights groups screaming out in a revolution. But they don't say anything if that is a different species. And that's why I say, this is terrible speciesism that's happening. The human ego puts itself above the other species, but also the human ego puts itself above any other being all the time. The human ego doesn't want to see and recognize the other being as deserving of love and deserving of respect, or women. The human ego, in the male ego, is extremely sexist and misogynistic in most men. I see that. It makes me so sad, because they view things through their childhood trauma, through also the indoctrination that they have received from their fathers and from any kind of male teacher or male people in their society. I understand, they have their locker room, man cave type of lust conversations. I see these conversations now out in the open. Yeah, okay, I see. You're doing locker room conversations. In the locker room, they wouldn't be paraphrasing anything. Of course, on the internet they try to find different words. They use food items to describe it, which don't match at all. But I understand, this is biological need in all of this. I'm not looking down on that. I'm not criticizing it. But I criticize it when it becomes abusive, when it becomes misogynistic, when there is hate and disrespect in it that vibrates in with it. And I see that a lot. Okay, and I have to say something about this. I'm not okay with that. So that's not okay, to be abusive of women. We have feelings too, okay? And that's why I make these videos. That's why I talk about this. I think that's extremely important that we say how we feel. A lot of people don't even know how they feel. That's so unconscious. But that's why we need to do this inwardness meditation process, to become consciously aware about how we feel. That's very, very important. And I see how men suffer. All men, not just the older generations. There are some pockets of older white men now in rural areas. They feel completely left out now by society. It's kind of tragic, all of this. But they don't understand how misogynistic they talk about women. Then they expect women to still find that somehow, like attractive, or like Clint Eastwood, who comes onto a woman in a misogynistic way, and she slaps him in the Western movies. What a cliche! It is so outdated. I still see that in video games that people make. They still make these kind of video games. And they still think that women too find that super sexy. I don't want to have to be... First of all, I don't slap anyone. I mean, unless I'm physically being attacked. Then I have to defend myself, of course. Or when I have to defend a living being, from being physically mistreated, then I might have to use force, right? But not because a man comes up to me in a misogynistic way, just psychological abuse. No, then I will address that also with words, instead of slap, like, now we had the same old Clint Eastwood type of sex loop game or something. And then, no, no, it's not. I'm not interested in that. Okay. Or spanking or those kind of things. I talked to Enigma about this for many months. He thought I was just being a Karen and being prudish or something, or being dorky or whatever. Well, I'm definitely not prudish. Anyone who watches my videos should know that by now. But I had to explain that is not my idea of sexual interaction. Okay, that's an outdated thing that comes, and it's also carried into, of course, into other demographics, and in Islam is that's really the epitome of women abuse, the absolute epitome. Nothing comes ever into that range. Nothing else. No other religion or cult or demographic. That's really the absolute, the worst atrocity there is. And that's why it needs to be dissolved, because it's a mental illness. Islam is a mental illness. It needs to be healed. It needs to be dissolved. Okay? I'm trying to help with this. I'm trying to help, first of all, to bring awareness to the world, because I think most people are not even aware how abusive that is. They probably get very lopsided information. Their fathers, when they see their teenage girls even go on the internet with the tablet, or they got a tablet secret, they're not even allowed to go on the internet because they could be influenced against Islam, right? So the father will not allow it. So there was a father, he saw his teenage girls go on the internet, and this is so unspeakable, So he thinks, because of his religion that tells him that, he thinks he has to do an honor killing. And he pushed them, he left them in the car, he locked them into the car and pushed the car over on the bridge or something, over into a river, and they died. That's Islam. Okay, so say no to it. Okay, it's very simple. Say no to violence, and say no to violent religions. Okay, Islam is Charles Manson exponentialized. But it's not just one person. That's an entire. That's not even not only just one nation. That is an entire. It's like a. It's a C-word religion that wants to take over. That wants to take over the whole world. They have ruined Sweden. Completely ruined that peaceful country, Sweden. It's infinitely sad, because the people in Sweden, they lived so peacefully, they were naive. They thought everyone is like them. So they let these people in, and that's the result. The women have to bleach, the women have to dye their hair, not bleach, they have to dye their hair dark, black or dark brown. They put dark brown contact lenses in, and they wear chadors, just so that they would be left alone if they have to go shopping. Okay, I have to put it out there. I don't think people are informed, really. In Germany, I saw a very well done documentary by a German woman, a courageous woman, who had the courage to speak out. She interviewed these people. It's right there. The information, it's all there. Just look at it. She interviewed a family of, I think, Turkish people that are Muslims. Teenage daughter, 11 years old. She interviewed her, and the daughter said, yeah, that's okay. If my brother wants to kill me, he can do it. If he thinks I did something wrong, he can do it. He has the right to do it. Her older brother. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible how indoctrinated they are. From birth on, of course. They think that is their existence. They never question it, ever. You have to question all of this. It takes guts to question it, but you have to do it. You have to question everything that is violent and oppressive. That's why I make these videos, to bring awareness to the world. The awareness has to start somewhere, by someone saying something. Okay? The emperor has no clothes on. That's a fairy tale. Everyone was made to believe the emperor has the most elegant silken clothes on, that they're so elegant that you can't see them. Until finally it took the jester, the royal court's clown had to say it. The royal court's jester had to say, but wait a minute, the emperor has no clothes on. And then suddenly, because he brought this awareness to the world, then the other people were, oh, yeah, the jester is right. He actually doesn't have clothes on. Okay, so that's an old fairy tale, and this is that's an old saying, which is used as a metaphor to describe how people are indoctrinated until finally someone has the guts to speak out and say something and say, this is not okay. We're not going to put up with this. Okay. So it takes every one of us to make the world better, not just one clown Nicola. So not just some circus clown or a trailer park mama or someone who's outside of society, someone who never even wanted to be inside of society because they didn't like it. Okay. So why wait until some outsider comes and tells you that you can question these things? When things feel uncomfortable, okay, then question it. Tony Robbins said, a great Tony Robbins motivational speaker. He's one of those courageous people. He's one of those jesters also. A jester who suggests a different way of living. He said, when something doesn't work out, change your approach. Okay? That's very good advice to the world. Okay? Let's listen to that advice. Let's become conscious. It takes inwardness meditation to become fully conscious of your own discomforts. When a woman wears a bra that's doesn't fit right because it's made by Victoria's Secret, ew. I want nothing to do with that company. Okay, they have done horrific things. Okay. I saw a documentary on that. They have absolutely abused that. Epstein was involved in this. They have abused women, and who knows what they may even have done human trafficking. Who knows what all they have done? I don't know. I'm speculating on this. But there's one photo model from Australia who's speaking out against Victoria's Secret. Courageous woman. You get my thumbs up. You get my respect. Okay. Every one of these people, are fantastic, that are daring. Ingrid Newkirk, Paul Watson, that are daring to offer a better solution. Okay, but you can do it too. It takes inwardness meditation. It's not about the ego. It's not about, you want to be grandstanding, or, that's a Karen, she wants to grandstand, or she wants to dictate my lifestyle. No, it's about when there's injustice, okay, it needs to be fixed, it needs to be healed, and someone has to say something, okay? So, and everyone, don't wait for the jester or some innovator to come. You do your own inwardness meditation and get rid of the shame and the pride and the ego, always thinking that person just wants to grandstand or wants to dictate my lifestyle to me. No, I want to help you, I want to help you make your life better. You're poisoning yourself. That's terrible, okay? I hate to see that. I care about you. I really do, okay? You guys take care.